Please rise for a pledge to our flag and remain standing for a moment of silence for our military personnel seen here and abroad. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
Notice requirements of the open meeting law have been satisfied concerning this meeting. The Home News Review and the Star Ledger published a notice on December 10th, 2021. The notice was published on the municipal bulletin board. It should be so noted in the minutes of this meeting. Councilman Spiller.
Here.
Councilwoman Meehan. Here. Councilman Patel. Here. Councilman Anderson.
Here.
Councilwoman De Jesus. Councilman Small.
Here.
Councilwoman McAuliffe.
Here.
Vice President Ficarra. And President Bauer.
Here.
Could I get a motion to approve the minutes from October 18th, 2022?
Motion?
Second.
Any questions or comments from council? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Beginning with second reading ordinances, we will take letter A first, which is a bond ordinance for the sewer utility in the amount of $5,638,000. Could I get a motion that this ordinance be taken up on second and third reading and the public hearing be open?
Motion?
Second.
Any questions or comments from council? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The public hearing is now open on letter A only.
Good evening, Tom Maris, Forge, New Jersey. Can you be a little bit more explicit about the $5,638,000? What's the cost of that bond we have? The last time we were here, I asked the mayor about $13 million. He didn't have a clue at that point in time what that bond's going to cost. The bond market is not favorable. What is your outlook and what do you expect to be paying for that bond?
This is Administrator Zimiluka.
We won't know that until we go to market.
When you go to the market?
It all depends.
On what?
All depends on what the market looks like.
So you're guessing approval, but you're going to hold this in abeyance till you know what the market is.
So I'm sorry, I didn't hear him.
Let me rephrase that. You're going to hold this in abeyance, if I heard you correctly, you're going to hold this in abeyance until you know what the market rates are?
No, I didn't say that. I said we'll look and see what the market's at, and then we'll figure it out from there.
What does that mean?
Just what I said.
What are you going to
When the
figure
market-
out?
when
What the
market's
rates are?
right,
You're going to either go for it or you're not.
We'll issue it into notes. Right now, we'll hold it.
And what about the one you just proved 2 weeks ago? What's happening with that one? Have you figured that one out yet?
That's
For
what I'll
$13
do.
million. I'll ask the mayor, maybe he can help me.
I think I said clearly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Are there any other questions on letter A?
John Verdali, Woodbridge. Mr. Simaluka, you talk about sewers. If you can wait, it's supposed to be probably emergency to get it done, right? Why would you do something if you don't have to wait out of the markets comes down? That sounds like you need to repair those sewers. So how could you wait?
We're not waiting to do the sewers. We're doing the work on the sewers that needs to be done now. We do work every year on the sewers to keep them up to date.
I know, but you need money to do it, right?
Right.
And when are you gonna pay for it?
We pay for it after we bond, when we pay the bonds off. That's how we pay for it.
So those people gonna wait after they finish the job until you pay for it?
No, we have plenty of cash on hand to cover everything we need before we bond. We don't need to issue bonds to pay for the project. We can pay for the project out of cash on hand. At some point then, we decide when the market's right,
So
we
you are.
can go to bond, or we can just keep issuing notes every year until we pay them off.
So you wanna float the bond, but you don't need money.
I'm sorry?
You wanna float the bond to money, part of the money, and you don't need the money.
Wow.
Well, wow,
Where do
yeah,
I go
wow.
with this? We pass a bond ordinance.
Right,
This one's $6 million. That authorizes us to start work on what's in the bond ordinance, which in this case is sewers. We have the money on hand to do the work. At some point, when the market is right and we think it's good to go out and get that $6 million, we go out to the market and we borrow it. And we pay it off over 30 years, And as we pay it, we charge the sewer users for that.
Okay, thank you.
That's how the budget works.
Second part of the question, where that work exactly is going to be done? What is going to be done?
It's
What
a
do-
variety of work totaling over $6 million on sewers throughout the town, and the list of everything in bond ordinances is available in the clerk's office.
Is most of the work being done when you build all those apartments?
No,
No. Where it's done then?
it's done in the streets of Woodbridge Township.
I understand it would be township, but specifically, what area would be?
I just said, if you want a list of what is in the ordinance, you can go and look in the clerk's office. Everything is laid out.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions on letter A? Here are no other questions. Can I get a motion that the public hearing be closed, the ordinance be adopted and submitted to the mayor for approval as required by law?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments from council? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Letter B and C, we're going to take both as consent. They're both Chapter 7 amendments. One is with regards to traffic to add a parking time limit on Grove Street in Woodbridge near St. James School. And the second is the designation of a handicap parking space on Lafayette Road. With that said, could we get a motion that both of these ordinances be taken up on second and third reading and the public hearing be open?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments from council? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The public hearing is now open on letters B and C, both B and C.
Okay, the letter B, John Vitarik again. To add parking time limit on Grove Street, what does it actually mean?
I didn't hear that.
He wants to
add-
know why we're limiting
To
parking
add
time on
parking
Grove Street.
time limit at Grove Street.
The time frame?
So it's a limited time parking for Grove Street. So you can
Right.
park there for only a limited time, then you have to move your vehicle.
I understand, but from what time to what time? Longer, shorter?
I don't have that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
seven, if you can, it's 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. It's particularly to help the parents to drop off the children at the school. And then
Okay.
it's from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m.
Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Can I get a motion that the public hearing be closed and both ordinances be adopted and submitted to the mayor for approval as required by law?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Letter D is an ordinance authorizing the subdivision of Lot 55 and the sale of a newly created Lot 55.01 to the Redevelopment Agency. Could I get a motion that this ordinance be taken up on second and third reading and the public hearing be opened?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments from council? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The public hearing is now open on letter D only.
John Vitarik again. On that lot, those lots that are be subdivided, purchased, where are those lots actually located? What part of town, what street?
It's North James Street.
North James Street. So that's next to Rio Grande, right?
Yes.
Uh-huh. And who owns those lots?
This portion of, little piece of property is owned by the township, and we're selling it to the redevelopment agency.
Through development agency. The development agency, and then what?
It could be used for future parking for Upper Main Street, where the new businesses coming in town.
Is that where you build a parking lot, or is that apartments?
Basically a parking lot.
It's
Well,
going to be,
I believe
start with
gonna-
surface parking, it could potentially become a parking deck.
Well, now, the parking lot is going to be built by the development agency or private source. Who's going to build it, actually? More than one partner or people, or who's going to build the parking lot?
The redevelopment agency is responsible for it. Who's going to build it, we don't know yet. We don't even know for sure if it'll be a deck yet. If it's surface parking, we will probably take care of all that, like we always do. If it's a deck, it'll be subcontracted out after a bid to a private entity.
Okay, but could be more than one owner, right?
No, didn't say that.
No. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this, letter D?
Tom Maris, Fords, New Jersey. Just following up on Mr. Vitarik's questioning. For months, if not well over a year, We've been hearing about North James Street getting a elevated, in fact, I believe 5-story parking facility. And I was assuming, based on what I just heard, that that's what we're talking about this evening under letter D. But I thought that was contingent on a couple of things. One, the Vita Mazda project with the, I think, 74 apartments. They need space there. Then the town wants some space. And then also, when the town acquires from the school board the Ross Street School parking lot, it puts in 94 tax-abated units over there, apartments that is, that the teachers will be required to park in that vicinity. Is that the same property that we're talking about?
Mayor?
One little sliver of the surface lot that we own on North James Street is required for the construction of the deck, if and when that deck ever happens.
And I believe you had said in prior indications that the contractor, the builders, the developers, if you will, for those projects would be responsible for paying a portion, line share, I would hope, of that parking facility. Does that still hold true?
If we build a deck, then the people who use the deck would be responsible for paying for it, which would mean the apartment owners and/or the township through whatever method we decide.
And if you don't build the deck, what are you going to do for parking for the school and also for the Vita Mazda project?
We have not finalized any plans for any of that yet, so I can't comment on it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Are there any other comments under letter D? Here are no other comments. Can I get a motion that the public hearing be closed, the ordinance be adopted and submitted to the mayor for approval as required by law?
Motion?
Any questions or comments from council? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And letter E is an ordinance adopting the Route 1 Area 22 redevelopment plan in the Avenel section. Can I get a motion that this ordinance be taken up on second and third reading and the public hearing be open?
Motion?
Any questions or comments from council? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The public hearing is now open on letter E only.
John Vitale. Okay, the Route 1, Area 22 redevelopment plan. What part of Route 1, is that in Avenel or where?
Yes, it's the adult bookstore property on Route 1.
What is it? I'm
The
sorry.
adult bookstore property on Route 1.
Okay, going
Avenel.
southward,
Excuse me?
going south on Route 1.
Going south, yes.
Yeah, thank you, good.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on letter E?
Tom Maris, just following up again from Mr. Vitaric. Exactly what's going to happen to that property?
Well, once adopted, be various permitted uses, but we don't know at this time.
So the township is going to take possession of it?
No,
Who is?
Bill?
the owners are going to keep owning it.
Or you're going to allow them to redevelop it, but you don't know how they're going to redevelop it?
As Mr. Bauer said, the plan has a lot of potential uses, and they will sit down with us and discuss what they plan to do with it, and we'll go from there.
Have they submitted anything to you or the redevelopment agency as to what their plans are for that property?
No, they have not.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other comments on letter E? Here are no other comments. Can I get a motion that the public hearing be closed, the ordinance be adopted and submitted to the mayor for approval as required by law?
Motion?
Questions or comments? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. You also have letter F listed, which is a first reading ordinance. Can I get a motion that this ordinance be passed on first reading, published in the Home News Tribune on November 4th, 2022, with notice of public hearing to be held on November 22nd, 2022 at 6 p.m.
Motion?
Any questions or comments from council? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Mr. President, you have 14 items listed under resolutions. Can I get a motion to approve them by consent?
Motion?
Any questions or comments? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Mitch. This time we'll go to the public comment portion of this meeting. When approaching the microphone, please state your name and what section of the township or state that you live in. You'll have a one-time opportunity to speak, up to 5-minute time period. All videotaping must be taken from the rear of the room in a designated area. There'll be no shouting out from your seats. Please be respectful of each other. Please make sure that there are no signs or posters in the aisle or walkways. Thank you.
Anybody have any comments this evening? No comments from the public?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Paul Lund, Hope Lawn. I have just a little bit of information to share tonight. There are 12 State Board of Ed members who are appointed by the state of New Jersey to oversee, standards, curriculum, things along those lines. And 4 of them, as do I and a lot of Woodbridge parents, object to the new comprehensive health and physical ed standards for reasons that have been stated multiple times here, for reasons that were stated at a public rally at the steps of the Woodbridge Municipal Building on August 14th with the mayor's blessing and with also a police officer on hand to make sure everything went in decency and in order. Being that it is public, it's a public venue, the steps of the municipal building. My question to the mayor would be, what other public venue for the community would be available to myself and concerned parents over the new sex standards, number one. Number two, I realize that it's unorthodox maybe to come to town council. We've been bringing these issues up over at the Board of Ed as well, but they are very adamant in going forward with gender identity by grade 2, for example. By the way, 4 of the 12 State Board of Ed members wanted to pull back on launching these standards this school year. They were concerned that it was pushing abortion front and center as an option for children who should still be considering abstinence. And I'm sure parents would want to see their children abstinent rather than having to go through an unwanted pregnancy and having to take that very, very big decision to go for abortion. 4 of them objected on the basis of abortion. 3 of them are now being replaced by Murphy, Governor Murphy. That's how he pushes back when parents and citizens are concerned. He just takes political retaliation against people of conscience who object. I brought with me tonight the standards in a more abridged form, because I know that it's unfair maybe to speak here regularly on the standards and the concerns we have as a citizenship, as citizens, and I'd like to offer these standards which focus on the ones of greatest concern. Would it be okay if we distribute these in some form or fashion?
Give Mr. Mitch and we can distribute them at the end.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay. So again, my question stands, if it's a matter of free speech, and I know the mayor is an advocate of free speech, having offered the property of the municipal building, why isn't it the same for one of the other community venues, especially as the weather does not permit outdoor engagement? Where would the mayor or park recreation department recommend that we have our parental information centers sessions?
First of all, Mr. Lund said the mayor's blessing for the rally. I don't give blessings for anything for the rally. Never did, never will, and never have. It's got nothing to do with me. I don't have approval authority over that. Anybody can come here and have a protest or have a rally or do whatever they want. It's for whatever reason. We don't keep a list of properties that are available because the ones you're referring to are not available, and we've said that over and over again. We generally do not make our facilities available other than for township-related functions or school board-related functions, and yours are neither, from what I understand about them.
Okay. So that's all these venues have ever been used for, strictly township-related, which would mean any citizen of the township, if they wanted to have a PTO meeting in one of the facilities, that would be fine?
That's a school function.
Okay. And then any parent who's concerned about the sex ed standards and wanted to meet and discuss, that would be a reasonable venue as well, right?
No, sir, that would not be
There's a
something.
distinction there? That's
It's
no
not
longer?
an official school function. It's not an official township function. It's a very easy distinction to draw.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lund. Yes. Okay.
Any other comments from the public this evening? Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Lund, take out your phone up there.
Will you be dropping more off? Mr. Lund? Will you be dropping more off, or is this?
I have more available.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. James Dabrowski, Woodbridge Proper. The Perth Amboy Area Branch NAACP would like to acknowledge the political courage of the Rahway City Council, who on October 11th became the 7th municipality to formally oppose a third fossil fuel power plant being built here in Woodbridge by unanimously passing a resolution against it. Shout out to Edison, Highland Park, Hoboken, Perth Amboy, Franklin, and Sayreville, who've also passed the resolution. And here's to many more communities finding the courage to stand against this environmental injustice. At our October 3rd meeting, this administration again refused to acknowledge Indigenous Peoples Day. So I'm wondering if Woodbridge will be acknowledging Native American Heritage Month. I noticed that your October 9th Columbus Day celebration, which you now insultingly try to mask as Italian American Heritage Day, Columbus was referenced numerous times and always in a whitewashed, positive light. Not one person there had the conscience, the courage, or the decency to acknowledge Indigenous Peoples Day. It's sadly exactly what we have come to expect from a mayor who calls the Black Lives Matter racial justice movement awful, and from his hand-picked administration of loyalists who tolerate and support his bashing of our nation's largest racial justice movement. And of course, as always, the mayor had his fellow Knights of Columbus here on October 9th, his anti-Indigenous, anti-reproductive rights, and notoriously homophobic fraternity. My mother-in-law, Linda Peters, recently passed away on October 11th after an 18-month battle with ovarian cancer, and she lived with us here in Woodbridge for the entirety of that battle. She was one of my biggest supporters coming to these meetings to speak out against racism and injustice in Woodbridge, and she couldn't believe how this man, John McCormick, could still be mayor after those anti-black words of his came to light. How he disgracefully lied about it, even lashing out and breaking decorum to interrupt my time instead of taking any accountability. As my friend Amber Jarrett remarked that evening after she played the recording of the mayor's awful words, how can we believe anything he says? My wife, like her mom, was born in Trinidad, and like America, there were people there indigenous to the land before European colonizers came and stole their land and tried to erase them, before they kidnapped and enslaved African people to work the stolen land under their white supremacist terrorism. Trinidad was originally called Kairi, which is Kalinago for Land of the Hummingbirds. It was Columbus who renamed the island Trinidad in 1498 upon his brutal colonization, just 2 years before he was arrested and brought back to Spain in chains due to his crimes against humanity. Similarly, this land we're on right now was called Lenape Ho King by the Lenni Lenape people, whose land was stolen by England's King Charles II and then chartered by him in 1669 and renamed Woodbridge. Chartered, like it says right there on the township seal. Sounds so much nicer than stolen, right? Despite genocide and displacement, the Lenni Lenape are still here. In fact, I was contacted by a member of the Ramapo Lenape last year who let me know that he had reached out to this administration in support of Indigenous Peoples Day. He said he can't understand why there's no celebration of or education about the original people of this land. Last year, this administration responded with the excuse that it will only recognize federally recognized holidays. Well, Indigenous Peoples Day was indeed recognized at the federal level for the past 2 years. So what's the excuse this year? And speaking of excuses, what's the excuse now for the blue line that's been painted down Main Street for the past 6 months? This administration said it was in recognition of Police Week back in May, which you said Woodbridge celebrates for the entire month. But half a year later, with no green line for Mental Health Awareness Month, no teal line for Ovarian Cancer Month, no pink line for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, no other color lines at all, it's very clear that the blue line is there for what it was always intended, as an anti-black, white supremacist Blue Lives Matter response to the Black Lives Matter racial justice movement. But regardless of the intent, it's important to understand that that's the impact of the line for so many of us, as the line never existed prior to the Black Lives Matter movement, which, as mentioned, this mayor has attacked. Council President, can someone on this administration please answer these 3 questions? 1, is Woodbridge acknowledging Native American Heritage Month? 2, will Woodbridge either paint a Black Lives Matter mural somewhere or agree to remove the Blue Lives Matter line from Main Street? And 3, Will this administration continue to allow a Confederate troop to march in our Veterans Day parade? I yield the remainder of my time for your response.
Mayor?
I have no comment.
No comment.
So Maris, Vitarak, these Proud Boys supporters, they get comments, but somebody committed to anti-racism gets no comment. We see you, Mayor. We all see you, and it's disgusting, to be quite frank. Justice for Nigeria Parks, justice for Jeremiah Daniels Porter, Black Lives Matter. That's awful for you to say that they don't. And stop the KSB power plant.
Thank you, Mr. Dabrowski. So sorry in your loss, too.
Are there any other comments from the public this evening?
Good evening, Tom Maris, Sports, New Jersey. It's always fun going up there after Mr. Dombrowski. I will say condolences to him and his family on the loss of his mother-in-law. I'm sure we're all saddened. I'm sure she was a great member of the community and did a lot of great things in her lives. As to the rest of his diatribe, well, we've heard it all before, and now he's calling out myself and Mr. Vitarak as racist, or at least we get comments back from this council. And yet again, I found myself at odds with the council on many things, but not on anything that he's putting forth. There's pure diatribe. And thank God he's a gym teacher, not a history teacher or a civics teacher. Then I would really be concerned. He belongs with the dumbbells and he does well there. But he did mention something else, decorum. At the last meeting, I want to say, you, at every meeting, you call out at the beginning of it to use decorum. And yet you allowed John McCormick to continuously interrupt Mr. Vitarak when he was having a discussion with Councilwoman McAlow. He should have been silenced. You have the right to do that, and you should have. You want to preach decorum, please practice it. Also, on resolution number 13, it says, authorizing the planning board of the Township of Woodbridge to undertake a preliminary investigation to determine if certain real properties in the Menlo Park Terrace section of Woodbridge Township is in need of redevelopment. What are you planning to do to Menlo Park Terrace now?
Mayor?
That is a home on West Kelly Street that also fronts on Route 1, and the owners have asked us to consider some options for developing it, so that's why we're taking this step tonight.
And what does the township plan to do, since apparently the school board is going to abandon any hopes of putting schools 4 and 5 on Rawway Avenue in the contaminated site? What is the township going to do with that property? And what aid are you going to give to the school board? Because they're now saying, since they can't go there or won't go there, and its cost to renovate schools 4 and 5 are going to be extreme. And anybody who wants to go into a 100-year-old school and renovate it knows nothing about construction cost, because once you start getting into that, you open a Pandora's box. You have to come up to all the latest codes, you have to make all the improvements, and that certainly is going to disrupt the school and probably put the children and the staff at risk while you're doing that construction. So I'd like to know how you're going to handle that. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Mayor?
We're not the school district. We have no idea how they're going to handle that. You have to bring those questions to the school board. We have nothing to do with their decision on whether to pursue school 4 and 5 new construction or renovation of the existing school 4 and 5.
Well, since it's your team, I'm surprised you don't know, and you own that property. The school board does not own it. They never
We
took
don't own it.
possession of it. Who does?
The developer still owns it.
And who sold it to the developer?
He bought it from the prior owner,
That being?
whoever that was.
Okay. Thank you for those answers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Are there any other comments from the public this evening?
Frank Trumbator, Woodbridge. The first point I'd like to bring up is perhaps consider a change to the rules of the council. When a citizen is finished speaking or his time has run out and he sat down, if there's a comment from the council, the citizen should be given equal time as for rebuttal. I believe I want the council to consider that. It's not fair. What does fair have to do with it? Now, I stand here again because I am asking the leaders of this town to stand up for the children of this town. The Board of Education is not another country under a separate government. I beg to differ because the town collects the taxes from me and everybody here. They are going to teach our children things that we don't want them to be taught. There's no reason to be teaching sex change to children. It shouldn't be done. And for all this time, I'm thinking, why is this happening now? Why is this happening? But I'm up every day at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning because I'm checking the markets in Asia and the markets in the UK. And I get reports from everybody. And all of a sudden I see this report. I can't remember if it was from Reuters or it was from Bloomberg. But the report discussed a burgeoning new market, going to make billions a month. You know what market that is? Sex change for juveniles. The surgeries, the doctors, the hospitals, the pharmacology, the psychotherapy, it all comes down to this. Talk the kids into destroying themselves for this. And I ask you, the leaders of this town, to stand against it. I don't care about this Board of Education. Who cares what they think? You're the leaders of this town. Stand against it and protect the children. I realize that Murphy is a Maoist. If he could, he'd kill as many more of us as he could. All right? He disobeys the Supreme Court with the help of his legislature. Completely keeps us from being able to protect ourselves, a minimum. We don't have the First Amendment here. We do not have the Second Amendment here. We don't even have the Fourth or 13th. We have nothing here. New Jersey might as well be the Soviet Union of the East Coast. It is reprehensible that we think we're in the United States here. Mr. Coughlin has a bodyguard, an armed bodyguard. I don't. Do you? Do you? We don't have one. So if somebody attacks us or our wives, we're screwed. Not Mr. Coughlin. A state trooper will put the guy down. We're tired of it. We're tired of being told that we're second class and we have to obey. I refuse to genuflect to Murphy. I refuse to genuflect to the communist takeover of this state. I'm done with it. And I will not allow children to be hurt. I will stand against it every chance I get. Every chance I get. And I hate to tell you what the rumor is on what's going on with the superintendents and the sex change stuff. I don't want to say it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the public this evening?
My name is Audra Savara. I'm employed here in Woodbridge, and I'm a resident of Metuchen. And I have to tell you, the meetings in Woodbridge are a little more intense. So anyway, I'm certainly not here to waste anyone's time, including my own. I do want to support what Mr. Dabrowski said regarding the power plant. I do not believe that it is an accident that this power plant is coming to Keesby. The demographics in Keesby, I'm sure you're aware of what they are. This is your town and you live here. For those that aren't aware, you know, the demographics are a little bit lower in terms of income, and it's more of a mixed community. And those of us in the environmental justice movement truly deeply care about equality, as I know that all of you are committed to. So I'm asking each and every one of you, I'm sure you read the UN report that was published recently. Time is running out to make a change. Basically, in no short words, we are almost screwed as a planet. And so this is not for my children, this is for the future generation. I have been in touch with people at CPV. They have assured me that because there's one power plant here, that they wish to build another power plant. I'm not against growth. I'm not against change, but I certainly am against more dirty air. New Jersey has extraordinarily high cancer rates. I have, as a young social worker, held the hands of too many people dying of lung cancer. And so I'm asking you to please protect the residents. I come to Woodbridge all the time. I've come to care about your community. Please protect the residents and stand for environmental justice and clean air. I thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Are there any other comments this evening from the public?
John Bertati, Woodbridge. Unfortunately, we got so many things to talk about, I only got 5 minutes. The last council meeting, I was over here, and I was asking Councilwoman Coffey about her hard time to open her business. She was supposed to open last June 2021, and there was in the papers and all over, it's going to be open up. It never happened. And now she's claiming that because of hard times, the prices went up and everything. And of course, is there any kind of problem because permits? You all understand it. We all went through it. We know how it is. But again, I want to bring it up what I did a couple months ago. And she cannot build it because of no permits. Is it because it's EPA or whatever it is? But I want to bring it up what I brought a couple months ago. On Fleetwood Road, 64th Fleetwood Road. Her father and mom had 2 dead trees in the backyard. And they was going to get a permit to do it. On April 26, the Department of Public Works cut those 2 trees down on a private property. On April 28, her father went to get permit to cut those 2 trees down. That's 2 days after they were cut. Why did she get such things done so fast? The people have to wait weeks, months, and years sometimes to do the job. But again, it should not be done on the private property. On May 9th, the Department of Public Works was the same place and grind the stumps down. Again, she probably better open up in the team, but that's what's done. And I know you people don't agree with me, and what hurts, the job was done, it was done, it was done. But she was present with the cut those trees. And she did all the stuff without permits. But then let's go to something else. I don't want to make it, I'm going to a prosecutor, of course, because I don't want to talk about it for months about it, and people think I don't want to talk about it. But let's go back to School 4 and 5 in Evanel. We went to school board meeting. We went to over here, and nobody knew who owns the property. Because the mayor just said, no, we all knew that the developer owns the property. And of course, school board said, and over here what said, that because it's the price to build a school. No, it's not a price because price is up. It's a price, you cannot build a school on contaminated soil. That thing is contaminated and you cannot build on it. And that's what I said previous meeting. What else can you build on the property? Now, development owns the property, right? He built a warehouse in the back. It's almost going to be finished. And now what happened? We need school. It may take quite a few more years to get a new school. And of course, it's going to cost more. But again, they spent over $2.5, $3 billion to clean the property that they don't own. Who actually approved this? How could you do something without ever possession of the property? But don't lie to the people. Tell them the reason they cannot build a school, because it's contaminated and the EPA won't allow it. That's the thing. So please do not, we're not the private flyboy in a town, but we know what's going on. You screwed up, but admit it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fatera.
Council President,
Yes, Mayor.
there's so many things wrong in what he just said, so allow me some time to counter it. The school board didn't pay a dime to clean the property. You were told that at a board meeting. The school board can't pay to clean property they don't own, and they don't own the property. Any cleanup that was done, or any work that was done on that site, was done by the owners, which is the redeveloper of the warehouse behind it, the Morris Companies. You need to stop lying and telling people that the school board paid to clean it. You were told they didn't. They didn't pay one dime. Now, I'll have the floor. Now, as far as the cleanup goes, nobody would build a school on that site unless the Department of Education said it was okay, and unless the Department of Environmental Protection said it was okay. And everything pointed to the fact that that cleanup would have been done to an acceptable standard, that those two entities would have allowed there to be a school there. That's not what stopped the project from happening. What stopped the project from happening was on March 10th of 2020, when the Board of Ed went to a referendum to the voters of the Township of Woodbridge. It was $87+ million. $35 million of that was for School 4 and 5 to be moved to Rahway Avenue. Then COVID hit 2 days later and everything started being shut down. So for 18 to 24 months, nothing was done on that project because things were just in upheaval because of COVID. By the time the board got back to it and their architects got back to it and started evaluating everything, the cost had gone from 35 to a minimum of $45 million, probably close to 50. And then if you take into account the time it would take to get the project up and running and bid and all the documents, everything approved by the state, probably more than $50 million. There wasn't money in the referendum to pay that difference of $15+ million. So the Board of Ed would have had to go back out to another referendum to get that difference of the money, which would have been somewhat difficult because it was targeted only to one section of the town. And it's not like the two prior referenda that we supported that had things for all areas and all schools because all got security and all got technology and all the kids got full-day kindergarten and there was improvements to just about every school over the course of all those years. It would have been difficult to do another referendum. The board decided on their own not to pursue it because they did not want to ask the taxpayers for $15+ more million. And there was about $30+ million left of the 35 because they spent a lot of money on architects' fees and other specialists. So they decided that would be better spent on building a new School 4 next to School 4 and then potentially demolishing School 4 just like the Ross Street model, which they did in the 2017 referendum. They built a new Ross Street School, then they knocked down the old Ross Street School and built the addition to Ross Street School with the gym and all the other rooms. That was a perfect project. It worked incredibly well. That's the plan for School 4. Build brand new, and then maybe take it down or maybe find a way to use it for something else. They don't even know yet. Their architect is working on it. School 5 is like Woodbridge Middle, a complete gut rehabilitation that will make it look brand new. They'll do every piece of tile, every carpet, every paint, every mold, you name it. They'll redo the whole school. And it'll be just like Woodbridge Middle, which will look exactly like it's a brand new school. All that will be done with the leftover money from the referendum. So you have absolutely none of your facts right. And the funny thing is, you were told what the facts were, and you still come here and repeat things that are not true.
Can I step in?
Sure.
Mayor, why don't
5 minutes up, Mr.
you talk to your superintendent? Talk to your superintendent, then talk to me. Thank you.
I talk to the superintendent every day.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fatera.
Are there any other comments this evening from the public?
Hello.
Good evening.
My name's Kyle Lawrence. I'm from Woodbridge. I wanted to build off of the plans for a future Keys power plant. I don't want to go over too much that already was, but we have one plant. We want to put in another plant there. This is a fracking plant, releases chemicals into the ground, poisons the water, poisons the air. I don't know if you know this, but our county has an F for drinking water and air quality. We have all gotten the notices saying you cannot drink the water unless you get expensive filters or you have to go out and buy your bottled water. That's pretty ridiculous, and now you want to put in another plant. That's just going to make everything worse. How do you get worse than an F? A double F? Is it going to get to like Flint, Michigan, where there's black sludge coming out of the faucets? And also, we as the taxpayers, we have to pay for water that we can't drink. We have to pay for the filters. We have to pay for bottled waters. As far as I know, there's no reimbursement for this. On top of that, like, what's next? Are we not going to be able to bathe in it? I don't understand how much worse it could get. The ground in Keesby is irradiated. I don't know if you know, but it's right next to the FedEx ground plant. Not plant, but the facility. I actually used to work there, and finding out how irradiated the ground is, if you've ever looked at charts of the radiation, it basically looks like ground zero. So basically, people are working there. They have no idea. They are being poisoned every single day. This will cause respiratory illnesses, all that. Let's add to the fact that fracking can also cause earthquakes, because you're basically turning the hole into Swiss cheese in order to extract energy. And we do not need more energy. We are actually a net exporter of energy. We export all the way up to New York City. So I'm really just wondering, what is the payoff for adding double the poisons to the ground, double the poisons to the air, poisoning all the people who work at FedEx ground, making our water undrinkable, unusable, and we still have to pay for it. Just got to ask, like, why do we need this extra power plant? Or if you want another power plant, why don't we look into a safer, cleaner, alternative energy source? If anyone would like to answer.
Any comments?
Council President, that's a whole lot of misinformation about what is going on here. The plant in CPV right now is the cleanest power plant in the state of New Jersey. It's one of the cleanest power plants in the nation. It was opened in around 2012, started in around 2008. The second plant that they will build will be even cleaner than the first plant. The site, as I said many times, is right now, or has been, a worse problem than anyone can imagine because it was radioactive. And I've said this over and over again. And if I have a choice between an openly radioactive site where the particles that you're referring to that might come from the power plant, how about the particles that come from the ground that's got radioactive materials in it?
Yes, that's
You
part
talk
of it.
about people in Keesby living near a power plant. I'd rather live near a power plant than a radioactive site. And all these towns that pass all these resolutions have no idea what they're talking about, and they should mind their own business. We don't tell them what to do in their town. They shouldn't tell us what to do in our town. The ground, 100 acres, much of it was radioactive. And all these conversations we're all having about Colonia High School, what's the one thing that came up? Ionizing radiation is what causes brain tumors and brain cancers, and we searched for it, and we didn't find it, but yet we have a site we know is radioactive, and people are not concerned about that because they're afraid of what might come in the air from the safest, cleanest power plant that's constructed in the state of New Jersey.
Well,
so
that's
when
my
we had
point,
this, when we
though.
had this conversation
irradiated.
with the company back in 2008,
spread.
there was a commitment that we made that if you clean this site up, the worst site in town, by far, the worst site in the county, by far, one of the worst in the state, was going to be cleaned up and turned half into two power plants and half into restored wetlands with boating and with kayaking and with trails and nature walks and all that good stuff, half environmentally protected and half devoted to business. That was a good plan for us because we got rid of a really, really bad site. Nothing that can go on that site is worse than what it was. So the environmental justice for people in Keesby was satisfied by the actions we took to get rid of that site that they live near.
As far as I know, there's still irradiated ground there.
There is not radiated ground in FedEx. FedEx was completely clean. That was a brownfield site that was done back in 1999, and I handled that transaction when I was the town CFO, and that land was also highly contaminated, though not radioactive. And the deal there was they build the warehouse and they clean up the land. And then Wakefern built the warehouse and cleaned up the land. And then Graydell built the warehouse and cleaned up the land. And one by one, all these warehouses all over town cannot be built and cannot open unless they agree to clean up the land to the highest standards, and that was done. So since we've been here, we've cleaned up hundreds, if not thousands of acres of wetlands and contaminated brownfields with the warehouse developments that we've done and with the two power plants we've done and with the third one that will potentially be approved by the state. And by the way, the state will not approve a power plant if it does what you say it's going to do, but you're completely and totally wrong. Completely wrong. Your facts about drinking water are wrong. Your facts about contaminating in the
notices
ground
in the
are
mail.
wrong.
Excuse me, sir.
None of that comes from the power plant. None of that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments this evening from the public?
No. Just approach the microphone, state your name and what part of the town or state you're from. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm Michelle Wallazak. I live in the Island section of Woodbridge. And the reason for me to be here tonight is to express my concerns about things that are going on in the neighborhood that I've never seen before. So my family has lived here, started with my grandmother's house in the 1950s and continued with my mother. Then eventually I took over when she passed. And I chose to stay here, even though I didn't grow up here. For years now, I've lived here because it's a great neighborhood, and even though the neighborhood has changed, it's a safe neighborhood. It's a good neighborhood. Everyone is kind. And in the last year or so, things have been happening that I've never seen before. And it started very simply with, I lay flowers for Mary at St. Cecilia's Church, and they were getting stolen. And so I started working with the church. I even bought a camera to have them install it because I was upset. How is this happening? And then it got more into the sense that now it's in my back door. The house behind me, shady things were going on, and so I worked with Housing Authority, and thank goodness they're wonderful and they've been helping me. I have now rats in my yard, and I never have this before. I have tried to reach out to people here to express my concerns via email, and I know you're busy, but I'm just seeing things in the neighborhood, and it's concerning. And so now, for example, I don't run anymore without pepper spray because I'm seeing things in the neighborhood that are very uncomfortable, and I've never felt this way before. And for the first time in my adult life, I don't want to live here anymore. And if this is going to continue, I at least feel I have to do my due diligence to make you aware. And hearing the most alarming thing around the corner was a home invasion this morning. And I don't know what's going on, but again, it leads me to think what is happening in this wonderful neighborhood. And I just feel I have to share this with you because I'm very well aware of what's going on, and especially in this state, but if this town is not going to at least be aware and want to do something about this, you're going to lose good citizens, and you're going to end up with whatever is coming into the neighborhood that clearly doesn't respect this town. And so I just want to make you aware of that, because I don't want to leave, but if it continues, I have no choice. Thank you.
Thank you. After the meeting, could we get your name? If you need to reach out to anybody and you're not getting any contact, you reach out to me. I'm the council president. We do really, want to help our, residents, and we do because, care about our residents. So if you have any concerns, I can talk to you after the meeting, and we'll look into them. Yeah, thank you.
Also, Council President,
Yes.
as soon as the public portion is over, the police director and myself will meet you in the hallway and talk to you.
Are there any other comments from the public this evening? Hearing no other comments, can I get a motion that the public portion be closed, the public comment portion?
Motion.
Questions or comments? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. This time we'll go to our agendas. My agenda's in order. I just have two announcements. Cub Scout Pack 26 Fords will hold a dine-out fundraiser at Dolce's Pizzeria Restaurant at 432 New Brunswick Avenue in Fords this Thursday, November 3rd from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Dine in or take out, 50% of every order goes to the pack. And Cruisin' Forge Trunk or Treat, rescheduled due to inclement weather on October 21st, is rescheduled for Monday, November 7th from 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at Sipperstein's Paint, 372 New Brunswick Avenue. All are welcome. That's all I have. Vice President Vaccaro is excused. Councilman Small.
Thank you, Council President. Number 3 on my agenda, please join the Port Reading First Aid and Fire for annual tree lighting on November 22nd at 7 p.m. at the Port Reading Firehouse. There'll be games, candy, the choir, and some special guests are almost guaranteed to appear. We ask that you please bring an unwrapped toy or game. to this event, and we donate all the toys and gifts to the Bristol Myers Squibb Children's Hospital at Robert Wood Johnson. So again, November 22nd. Number 13 on my agenda, 238, is the Port Reading fire boat. And I just want to mention that on October 24th at approximately 6:30 in the morning, there was a major fire at the Carteret Marina. Port Reading responded and played an integral part of putting them boats out. Unfortunately, closer units had some breakdowns and out of service. That's the nature of the beast everywhere, but I just want to congratulate the Port Reading career and volunteer staff for a job well done. And number 15 on my agenda is our light parade. This will be our third light parade to be held on November 26th at 6 p.m. It starts at New Street. Please look on the township website to see the route of the parade, and I can just guarantee that it's going to be bigger and better than the prior 2 years. I just want to say God bless all our first responders, township employees, and God bless America. That's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman DeJesus is excused. Councilman Spiller.
Thank you, Council President Bauer. Item number 1 on my agenda, to echo Councilman Small's comments that time of year. Please join us on Sunday, November 22nd from 4 to 6 at the Avenel Firehouse for Avenel Community's Avenel's Very Merry Holiday Lighting, where we will light a 17-foot tree and a 6-foot menorah. Photos with Santa, horse and carriage rides, photo booths, bounce house, costume characters, a whole bunch of other things for the kids. Also, please consider bringing a new unopened toy to donate to the Bristol Myers Squibb Children's Hospital. Again, that is Sunday, November 27th. Item number 8, there are less than 20 tickets remaining for Avenel Fire Company's Comedy Night, featuring our very own Joe Fernandez as the headliner, who can be seen on the web series I Don't Know Joe. Also performing will be comedian Troy Moore and MC Michelle Trina. That is this Saturday, November 5th. Doors open at 7, showtime's 8. Bring your own refreshments. You can contact Chris at 732-803-1524. And item number 9, the Columbian Club of Avenel Lions Columbus asked me to announce they're having their annual pig roast fundraiser this Saturday, November 5th from 6 to 10. Buffet dinner. Doors open at 5:30. For interested, call Anne-Marie at 732-407-1083. I think I saw the weather. It's going to be 73 degrees this weekend, so it's always good for pig roast. The rest of the agenda is in order, Council President. I'd just like to acknowledge and thank all of our veterans, all of our brave men and women who have served in the military as Veterans Day approaches. Thank you to all our emergency responders, fire, EMS, our Woodbridge Police Department, CERT, and all of our public works and township employees. God bless America. Thank you, Council President Bauer.
Thank you. Councilwoman Meehan.
Thank you, Council President. I just have, my agenda is in order. I just have 3 events I'd like to announce for the upcoming holiday season. The first is the Turkey Trot for Hunger. That'll be on Saturday, November 12th. The walk leads from School 21. At 11 o'clock, we'll proceed down Inman Avenue along the sidewalks. We'll have some fun things for the kids, full activities, a hayride, and meanwhile, they'll be collecting food there. You can just pull up, and we'll come and take it out of the car between 11 and 2 o'clock. That'll go for Thanksgiving baskets that we're putting together. So anybody that can donate an item of food, that would be very helpful. The Colonia tree lighting will be held this year on November 26th in front of the Evergreen Center. Sing along with the St. John Vianney's Choir, costume characters, and the Colonia community as we await the Woodbridge Township Light Parade. Thanks to all of you. We will be meeting at 6:45, and the parade should be passing the Evergreen about 7:15, where Santa will stop just briefly to help us light our tree. And the last event is on Friday, December 9th from 6 to 9. We'll be holding our holiday cookies and candy event, where we'll be collecting homemade cookies to be shipped out to local troops who will be serving our country away from their homes this holiday season. If you have a family member or friend that you know that is serving and would benefit from a basket from the holidays from home, please reach out to me, give me their APL address, and we'll make sure they get a basket. Also at this event, we'll be collecting non-perishable food items to make baskets for needy families and shut-in seniors for this December holiday. And we'll be collecting toys and gift cards for needy children in Woodbridge Township for our annual Woodbridge Township Woodbridge Township Toy Drive. Toys can also be dropped off at any senior center, community center, or the town or Woodbridge Town Hall. And also just our Veterans Day Parade, just honoring our veterans, will be Sunday, November 13th. It'll be leaving 1:30 sharp from Ross Street School, and we'll parade down the avenue. So please come out and support our veterans. We really want them to know how much they're appreciated. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Anderson.
Thank you, Council President. First, on behalf of Councilman Vacara, who is away at the moment, I'd like to announce that you can burn off your turkey calories if you donate a non-perishable food item to support the Woodbridge Township Food Pantry and receive one roller skating admission at half price. So you'd be coming into our roller rink, and you'd be helping out our families that are in need. As far as the WTYRC, I would like to thank Rutgers University and Central Jersey Pop Warner for putting together a fantastic flag-a-thon a few weeks ago. We had our 5-, 6-, and 7-year-old flag football players given the opportunity to play football in the Rutgers practice bubble, which is always a great experience and a great end to their season. I know that my boys had an opportunity to do it when they were younger, and it's nothing better than seeing the kids and their faces when they're part of the Rutgers tradition there. Job Bank, FEMA is hiring. Their preferred skills are data entry, attention to detail, interpersonal familiarity with medical technology, terminology, and project management and customer service. Now, all of these jobs you can find on the Employment Opportunity Center on our township website. FedEx package handlers, right now you can make up to $22.25 per hour, plus a weekly bonus opportunity. And now there's tuition assistance from FedEx, and it's up to $5,250 per year. There's flexible schedules, discounts on phone and groceries and other purchases. Again, you can check that on our township website. This is for our Casby location, which is located at 6000 Riverside Drive in Casby. Amazon is still offering a $1,000 signing bonus for any new hires. And substitute teachers, as I've been mentioning, are in need in all of our Middlesex County school districts. And you can go on our website and link up to find out what it takes to be a substitute teacher. And just so you know, to be a substitute teacher, they have lowered the credit requirement, and typically it was 60 credits, but you can now be a substitute teacher at 30 credits as long as you're enrolled in one course. New Jersey Transit is advertising and hiring, and the Middlesex County Elite Youth One-Stop Center is on there for our youth that are looking for employment. BASF and Stericycle also are advertising on our website. The Woodbridge Hall of Fame was held a few weeks ago. We had our banquet, the first one in person since the pandemic, and we had a great turnout. And I just want to give a shout out to the board for being a part of that, led by Dr. Nick Sardone, who is completely dedicated to acknowledging our past heroes on the athletic fields and in the classroom at Woodbridge Township. And lastly, I do want to mention the Woodbridge Community Charity Fund 2022 Holiday Shopping Spree Raffle. First prize is $3,000, second prize is $2,000, and third prize is $1,000. Tickets are on sale Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the mayor's office on the third floor. You can contact 732-602-6015, and you can ask for Geraldine Mazurek or Loretta Dowd, and they can help you out. And it's a great opportunity for our local organizations to raise some funds because you can sell the ticket and you keep the profit. And what is it? I'm sorry. Let's see. All raffles are due back on November 14th, and the winners will be announced at a public drawing November 18th at 6 p.m. at the Avenel Performing Arts Center. Winners need not to be present. But you can, as I said, you can sell, you get the tickets, you sell the ticket, and the tickets are $5. And for an organization, you just have to purchase 100 tickets. So you buy the tickets, and then you keep the profit once you sell it. Okay, so great opportunity to sell some tickets, make some money for your township, but also to be a part of a great raffle for the Woodbridge Township Community Charity Fund. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Patel.
Council President, my also in order, I have an announcement. We have a Veterans Day which is coming up on next Friday, November 11th. We'd like to wish a happy Veterans Day to our soldiers, both past and present. I thank you all for your sacrifices, your bravery, and the example you have set for all of us. May God bless you, and may God bless all your family members. Also, Islin VFW Post 2636 will hold their annual Veterans Day services and Veterans of War flag raising ceremony on Friday, November 11th, starting at 11 a.m. at the Post Monument, which is located at the Bath Avenue Memorial in Islin, which is actually located across from the St. Cecilia's Church in Islin. Also, next week on Tuesday, November 8th, there is going to be an election. I request everyone and every eligible voter, if you haven't voted by mail, you go to the polling booths and cast your votes for your choice of candidates. Also, Woodbridge Police Department investigates a home invasion and an attempted auto theft, which actually occurred this morning in the early hours at 30 Woodbridge Street in Islin section of Woodbridge Township. According to our Police Director, Mr. Hubner, Woodbridge Police Department's communications dispatch center received a 911 call at 6:39 a.m. this morning of a report of an attempted auto theft and burglary at a private residence located at 30 Woodbridge Street in Islin. Woodbridge Police Department officers promptly responded to the residence and determined that two males entered an unlocked car, late model Jeep Cherokee, parked in the driveway of that residence. The on-scene investigation further determined that the two males, after exiting the Jeep, approached the entrance to the residence and broke through the front door and entered the kitchen area of the residence. The suspect encountered the homeowner and secured the keys or the fobs for the Jeep Cherokee and the late model BMW. The two suspects exited the residence and unsuccessfully attempted to start the Jeep. They could not start the Jeep and fled the scene and drove on Route 27 toward the Garden State Parkway in late model orange or red Audi vehicle, which is believed to be a stolen vehicle. The good news was that the homeowners weren't injured. I would like to thank our Police Director, Mr. Hubner, and all our police officers for their dedication and continued community services. That's all for tonight. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilman?
Council President, if I could, I just want to assure the council and the general public that the police department has this fully under investigation and will be adding additional patrols to that area. So thank you, Council President. Thank you, Councilman Patel, for bringing that to light.
Thank you. Councilwoman McCullough.
Thank you, Council President. My agenda is in order. I just have a couple announcements. First, I want to thank everyone who came out for the Halloween pep parade. Despite the drizzle, it was a super fun event, raising money and food donations for the animal shelter. Number 10, I'd like to congratulate the Woodbridge Fire Department. I'd like to congratulate the Woodbridge Fire Department on their 125th anniversary, which was October the 28th. Also, the day prior to that, October 27th, there were 7 new firefighters sworn in, and 4 of them were men and 3 were females, which is the first time a female was sworn in as a paid firefighter. Number 12, which is the Seawarren Library, will be having a reading by John DeMore. This is going to be held on Saturday, the 19th of November at 1 p.m. There's going to be a reading of me and George, and also the boss always sits in the back. If you'd like to come out and spend some time at the Seawarren Library, get your book signed by this gentleman, it would be a nice event to bring out your children. Also, the Woodbridge Brewery is going to be having a function downtown on November the 12th. It's going to be having a Yankee player, Jose Trevino, there. There's you're going to be signing autographs. There is a price to do it, and there's limited time to sign up. It's $75 a ticket, and if you call 732-634-2929, you can get the details on that. And the last thing I have is, sorry, I kind of went out of order, I apologize. The Chamber of Commerce event is having their annual holiday luncheon on December 12th. And this is a great time to come out and see what they do is they swear in the new officers, as well as they do the awards for beautification for things that happen in Woodbridge Township, businesses that have beautified their places, as well as we give out the awards for the anniversary awards for businesses that have been in business for 10, 20, 50 years. So it's a nice event to come out and see what has been going on in downtown Woodbridge and celebrate. And they also have one of the high school choirs come and sing, so it's a nice event to come out. I want to wish a happy Veterans Day to everyone and thank all of our service members for their service. And my son-in-law is in the military, and I'd like to thank him for his support also. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you. Mr. Mitch.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just 2 items to mention. One, I added a new item onto my agenda, which is work with the police department to review an application for a new liquor license over at Vermilla Way for Angelina's Kitchen. I'll expect some action on that in the near future. And number 2, I know Mr. Patel mentioned next week is Election Day, Tuesday, November 8th. Also for the voters to be reminded that we do have early voting here in New Jersey, specifically in Woodbridge at the Acacia Center, 95 Port Reading Avenue, Woodbridge, and that's open 7 days a week for 9 consecutive days. Will end this coming Sunday at 6 p.m. That's all I have.
Thank you. Director Hubner. Thank you. Director Darden.
Thank you, Council President. Nothing this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Brew.
Thank you, Council President. I have a local freight impact grant application for action.
Thank you. Business Administrator Zimmerluca.
Thank you, Council President. I have one item tonight, Emergency Management Agency Assistance Grant. Thank you.
Legal.
Nothing this evening, Council
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Thank you. Good evening.